Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 1011 Now streaming studio. I'm Madison Pitch, joined today by Jared Maneri. Well, joined every week by Jared Maneri. Jared, how are you doing?
Good, doing real well.
Good, good. You had a busy day, you were telling me.
Yeah, we're doing some crime scene training today.
Yeah. Lots of stuff going on for you.
Absolutely.
Keeping you busy. So every week we get together and we talk about a couple of Crime Stoppers cases that need to be solved. So, Jared, should we just jump right into the first ones that we've got going on today?
Let's do it.
All right, let's take a look at this one. It happened at Best Buy. Tell me about what's going on here.
So basically, this is Best Buy. They're at 70th and O Street. This is on May 15th. These two guys go in and they kind of mess around the store looking at some Wi-Fi routers. They end up grabbing 4 of those Wi-Fi routers and they basically just run straight out the door past the attendants. They get into a gold Honda SUV that didn't have any plates that was out in the parking lot. So in essence, they basically got away with about $1,200 in Wi-Fi routers in this incident. And interestingly, this looks like it's probably tied to another case that Best Buy had almost exactly a month before. So this is on May 15th. The previous case was on April 15th, and we had 2 males, pretty much the same description. They were even wearing the same Crenshaw-style shirt, and they, again, get in that same Honda CR-V. So we believe it's related. This Honda CR-V is very specific, so we're hoping that maybe somebody can give us a tip on these guys. Again, we've talked about before how sometimes we get groups that come into town, and what we call that is like organized retail crime. And a lot of times that's something like it's a bigger group that's maybe trying to use that money for like gang activity or narcotics use or something like that. So we don't know if they're local or if they're just kind of happen to be coming to town a month apart. Usually when they come through town, they only hit us once. But since they've hit us twice, they might be local. So we want to get that out there.
That is interesting that it happened exactly a month apart.
Yeah, maybe it's their monthly schedule. I don't know.
You know, you and I go and get groceries. Some people go take routers from Best Buy. This is a Best Buy at 70th and O.
Yep, 70th
right?
and O Street. Yep.
Okay, and the Honda CR-V, that's about to pop up on screen. There are some things that are outlined in that picture. What are we looking for there?
Actually, what's outlined in that picture, I think this is the way the camera system works on this.
Okay.
It's just kind of showing that there's some kind of motion in that area. Okay. So the camera's just marking it. So we don't see anything specific on that door. But obviously, this vehicle doesn't have plates. Now, maybe it does have plates, and they took it off for this incident. But at the time they were at the Best Buy, they didn't have plates on the car.
Okay. So May 15th, those 2 guys walked in, and they both took 2 routers.
Yes.
Worth over $1,200.
On May 15th, they took 4 routers for about $1,200. And then when they were in there earlier, a month earlier, on April 15th, they took 2 routers, and that was about $9,500.
Does that kind of signify some, like, gaining confidence?
It just depends. Sometimes maybe they just, like, for instance, the 2 routers they got on the April 15th, maybe they were a bigger router. Maybe they just couldn't carry as much. Because when you look at the value, we have 2 routers for $950, and you have 4 routers for $1,200. It looks to me like there are some higher end routers when they have only 2. So.
Yeah. And Jared, I know we really go over this a lot. Let's talk about tips.
Yep, absolutely. Got to do it every time, right? So basically, there's several ways you can contact the police department or Crime Stoppers just to give a good tip. So first of all, if you want to talk to a Lincoln police officer or the officer working the call on this, you can call our non-emergency number, which is that 441-6000. You can also call Star Tips, and that will get you to our Crime Stoppers line. Our local line for that is that 402-475-3600 that's on the screen right now. Of course, you can always go on LincolnCrimeStoppers.com to see these stories and other stories that we're posting on a weekly basis and give a tip online through that, and also through the P3 app. If you download that, you can have that on your phone, and that gives you access to basically give tips as many as you want.
Yeah, all right, sorry, my brain is moving slow today. Let's get on to the second case. It's kind of theft is the name of the game here. Well, I don't know if theft is a technical term. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's a theft. So, I mean, technically, I guess we'd call it a larceny, but what happens is this guy gets onto one of the buses in the city here. He's riding the bus, and he sees a bag that's basically sitting kind of across from him. It turns out it's actually the bus driver's bag, his work bag, and he kind of just sits there, and you'll see in this video, he'll basically notice that this bag is there. He'll end up kind of scooting the bag over so it kind of blends in with all of his bags. and then he walks off the bus with those bags. And so obviously we'd like to get some information on him. The bus driver in this case was out like a phone, some credit cards, some cash, some sunglasses, some basic stuff that was in the bag, just kind of as a go bag, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, you know, probably rides this bus on a fairly regular basis, maybe. Maybe somebody recognizes him from other bus trips or just recognizes him because of the way he's dressed. But we don't have a great face image of him just because of the where the camera is and with his hat. But we're hoping that maybe somebody can recognize him officially.
Yeah, it's tricky because that looks like an empty bus, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. At that moment, it kind of is.
Yeah. So it happened May 11th.
Yes.
Do we know what route this was or where the theft may have happened, where he got off the bus?
We know it was on Route 56, but unfortunately the bus driver specifically didn't realize the bag was gone right away. So by the time he realized it, it was down the road a ways. But we know it was the Route 56 bus.
Okay. So we don't know where he got off.
Nope.
Okay. So on the Route 56 bus. And if somebody saw this man on the bus or they ride the bus with him regularly, they can report anonymously, so this guy would never know.
Absolutely.
Walk me through that.
Okay, once again, call the Crime Stoppers number, 475-3600. You can call the police department at the 441-6000. You can go on LincolnCrimeStoppers.com, and of course, you can go on your P3 app.
Yeah. So, Jared, something we have talked about doing is kind of doing like a monthly wrap-up. Is this segment making any kind of a difference? So we went and pulled all of the cases that well, let me not lie to anybody. Jared pulled all of the cases. And we are going to walk through who's been identified, how many tips you're getting. So let's start with one of the very first ones. It was a woman who was accused of shoplifting things from Target.
Yep.
Walk me through this case. What's happened since?
So the good news is we got a great identification on this one. We had 7 different tips that came through our various ways we just talked about how to get it to us. So we had 7 different tips on this case. 2 of them gave different names. So there were 2 names given, let's put it that way. Out of the 7 tips, there were 2 different names. So obviously when that happens, as officers, we have to do a full investigation. We can't just go with somebody says it's this person, it's going to be this person.
Yeah.
So they basically ended up identifying this female, and right now we are looking for her to give her a ticket for the misdemeanor theft, but we do have her identified, so that's great news.
And 7 seems like a lot of tips.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, actually, while I was looking through this, I did notice that several of these tips flat out include a link from 1011 saying this is where I saw the story. So they're actually telling us, hey, I saw the story on 1011 in one way or another, and then giving us the tip. So obviously it's 1011 viewers that are giving us some great tips.
Yeah, that's huge. And you said she has been given the ticket, or you guys are working on
We're
giving
still
her the
looking
ticket?
for her. We have a broadcast out for her, which basically means if we find her, we have to give her a ticket.
Okay. And the next case, let me just cross this off my list as we're going. I don't really know how to describe this case. Can you walk us through what happened here?
Yep. So this was basically somebody broke into a car, they stole a wallet, they ended up using the credit cards at a Walmart, and the black male here used the credit cards at Walmart, and then the white female here used the checks at a bank and tried to cash out some checks. This one, we've got nothing. Remember when we were talking about it, we said there's a good possibility that this is a traveling group that was kind of coming through town, so it's possible that nobody's going to know them. I think that might be the case here, or we just haven't found the right person that does know who they are that's local. But again, unfortunately, we don't have any tips on this case yet.
That's interesting that it could be people we don't know, people that don't live here, that it's a traveling thing. I guess I just never thought about it. Tell me about this video we're playing right now. It's we tagged it larceny from auto.
Yep. So we had 4 different tips that came in on this case. We had 2 separate names for this case. And we believe we have it down to 1, but obviously there's still more investigations going to have to go on these. Unfortunately, sometimes these just take a while, and so this one's still in the process, but it sounds like we have at least 1, maybe 2 really good suspects to go for.
And were the things stolen, were they recovered?
I don't believe they were.
Okay.
Remembering back, I don't think they were.
Okay. So a couple tips, no definite answers yet?
No definite yet, but I would say that at least one of those, when I was looking at it, looks pretty good. So hopefully we'll get an arrest on that one at some point.
All right, looks like we're having some fun technical difficulties. You guys didn't know, don't worry, you're helping us. You can see us hand right here. Let's go ahead and put up the next video, and Jared, you can kind of walk us through it. I have it was a disturbance at a smoke shop.
Yep, we had this male. He went into a smoke shop, got kind of upset with the clerk over a transaction, and kind of to create a little bit of a disturbance, was asked to leave, and in the process, he ends up throwing a stool, which breaks the stool. We had a really good tip that came in, gave the name of the suspect, and the interesting thing about this case is we believe that we also had another person on that recognized this male from our Crime Stoppers cases and had seen this male outside of her house on her camera knocking on her back door. So now we may have two cases that are somehow related to this male. And in that case, we had better images that we were actually able to use to identify him even better. So we think we have this one nailed down. We'll just have to see how it goes as we continue our investigation.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk. We're just speeding right through them here. There's a mini bike stolen. Do you remember that one?
I do. Okay, so in this case, basically, guy pulls up to a convenience store on his mini bike here and goes inside, and a car pulls up with a female driver here, and a male gets out, basically picks up the bike and kind of walks it around the corner, takes this mini bike, and it just disappears into the night. This one, when we talked about it, we had 3 different tips that came in, gave us a really good suspect name on it. And coincidentally, we also had somebody that called in and said, hey, I have the motorcycle. I bought it from someone online. And so we sent an officer out. We recovered the motorcycle, gave it back to the victim. And now we've got to find this male. We're still looking for him. And of course, he's going to be getting some tickets for not only the theft, but also a theft by deception for then selling this stolen merchandise.
So would you say then that this case is pretty much cleared?
It's pretty much. It sounds like we're drafting a warrant for this male. So hopefully, once that's done, we'll be able to arrest him.
But you know who he is. You're just looking for him.
We know who he is.
All right. The next one I have up was somebody took some keys from a door.
Yes, this was kind of an interesting one. Not what I would recommend people to do, but almost at the same time we were talking about it that week, the victim in this case saw this male walking around, confronted him, asked him for his keys, and he handed the victim his keys back. And, kind of made some apologies, things like that. And in this case, the victim basically, since he got his keys back, didn't want anything else done. On the other side, we also had 4 different tips that came in with several different males that could be a possibility, and at least one of those was the right name. So it's just kind of an interesting coincidence that the victim happened to see this guy at about the same time we were talking about it last time.
Yeah, I don't think I could have gone up to him and asked for my keys back.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that kind of thing because you just never know in those kind of situations how it could go.
Yeah. This next one was one we did, I think, last week, and there's pretty good video of it. Tell us what's going on here.
So this is another motorcycle that was stolen. These 3 people, they get out of this white pickup truck. They take the motorcycle and just kind of load it in and drive off. It was an apartment complex. We're hoping that maybe somebody could help us identify it. We have absolutely no tips on this, so maybe somebody this week is paying attention and can give us an idea. We just don't know who they are or anything, so it's not the greatest video, but maybe somebody can recognize that truck.
And remind me the truck that we're looking at here. Again, that's a close-up shot of someone that may have been involved.
Yeah, I don't remember the type of truck we thought it was. I don't have that with me today.
I know the video is going to pop up, so maybe we'll just let it.
But yeah, it's. I think we had it on there.
Similar to that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, and the last one I have on our list was this. This was we ran it last week. Tell me what happened there.
So basically, this guy was upset with some people in a car that's off to the left side of the screen. He has a drink that he ends up throwing, and then he basically kind of walks out in front of this truck, stops it. The driver opens the window, and he yells at him about, "Hey, why are you trying to hit me?" and then punches the driver. Obviously, this is a concerning assault. The good news is we had 6 different tips that came in. We had 4 different names that were involved in this. So obviously that, for our end, is a lot of work. Now we have to look into all 4 of those people. However, he also saw the broadcast and called in and said, hey, that's me on Crime Stoppers. And so we've made contact with him. We haven't caught up with him yet, but when we do, he'll probably be receiving a citation for the assault.
Okay. So Jared, the list of cases that we've covered, you sent me some with quite a few green X's on them. That means almost cleared, almost solved.
We got probably 4 out of our 8, I would be my guess. So about half the ones we talked about are either very close to being cleared or will be soon.
Yeah,
so.
What is that like to see 50% of the things that we've talked about here are being cleared, are being covered?
I would say that's pretty successful. I know that when we look at our yearly stats based on the stuff we post on our website, on average, we're clearing about 35 to 40% of those cases. And as we talked about before, a 20% clearance rate for a police department is considered to be a very high clearance rate. So we're doing really good. And if you want to look at our month, I guess we did about 50%, so that's really good.
Yeah.
So well, hopefully we can keep that up.
Yeah, I thought the case that was really interesting was the mini bike stolen from, was it a convenience store where it was parked?
Yep.
There wasn't great video of that. You didn't get a clear look at anybody involved. But
Correct.
through Crime Stoppers, you guys did manage to get where you needed to be and to solve the case.
And absolutely, and kudos to those that said, hey, this is the bike that you're looking for, and called it in. That's unfortunately one of the bad sides of buying stuff through Marketplace or any online accounts, is you don't know where they're getting it, and sometimes you can find yourself in kind of a pickle.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully you're being very cautious when you're purchasing stuff online.
I think that case alone just really shows the value of, getting this stuff out to the public, talking about it. Somebody has to know something. Right. All the time.
Yep.
I think that's a great
No, you just got to find that right person that just knows the right information.
Yeah.
And even the wrong information is sometimes helpful, because we, like I said, in some of these cases, we get 4 different names. You may have information that is good and valid, and we just have to find a way to see if that's actually the person or not.
Yeah.
And if we didn't get the 3 wrong, we wouldn't have got the 1 right.
Yeah.
You know?
So for those cases that we just played through, one last time, Jared, if you know anything about them, what can you do? Okay, so you can give us a call at the police department, the non-emergency line, 441-6000. You can call the Crime Stoppers line, which is that 475-3600 line. You can go on LincolnCrimeStoppers.com to give us information there. And, of course, you can always go on the P3 app that you can download to your phone to give tips through your phone. Yep, and tips are anonymous if you go through anything Crime Stoppers related. So
yep,
your information
anonymous,
is scrubbed.
and the only way to collect any reward is to go through Crime Stoppers. If you call the police department, you will not be eligible for rewards.
Yeah. Have any rewards gone out?
So basically the way this works is on like the cases we just talked about, they basically have to be completely cleared, which, like we've talked about, they're not completely cleared yet. We may have it identified, but we don't have them cited. Once they've been cited, the officer would basically tell the board, the Crime Stoppers board, this case was cleared by a good Crime Stopper tip. Okay. And then the board would vote on what that reward amount is. So it usually takes a couple of months to really kind of get through to make a reward on those cases.
All right, well, Jared, thanks so much for joining us today. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week.